Good morning, everybody. 1, 2, 3. We got Julissa, Genesis, and Aaliyah. And Caesar online. I'm just saying Joseph and Lewis right now. Okay. Take chances, make mistakes, get messy. Also, very applicable, especially to this year. Good old Miss Frizzle, Magic School Bus knows what she's talking about. Right? We're going to make a lot of mistakes, but that's okay. That's how we learn, right? Today, we are talking about reading in arithmetic. We're reading in math class. We've been doing a lot of that so far, right? It's kind of weird for a math class. Fully acknowledge that. But reading in math, especially with math text, is a little bit different. And so I want to spend the day calling out some of those differences and how to deal with a math text, because we're still going to continue to read them. Some people back in the day wrote things down, and they were pretty good, right? So rather than me try to reinvent the wheel, or in this case, the math textbook, okay, we're going to read things that other people wrote about. And we'll learn stuff from it. It'll be great, right? But there's a process to it. And we're going to practice that process using a text we've already started to get familiar with. Okay? So I've attached again the chapter 0 from our textbook. You read the first section already, Geometry in Nature and in Art. And what I want you to do today is to read through the rest of the chapter, but using these math reading keys as you go. And I'll explain a little bit more of what each one is and why it's important. So first, math reading key. This is the first step to help you really understand and process the reading. A lot of these are going to apply to many textbooks. It's not that math specific. I'll call out some math specific items. Right? But this applies to any textbook. You can take this and use it for the rest of your academic career. And you might notice these are the things your English teacher might bring to mind when you're reading something, but it's especially true when you're reading. Hello, Lewis. I'm guessing that was you. All right. But these are the things you might not have to think about when you're just reading a story. Right? That's what I want to accomplish. When you're just reading a fiction book for fun, when you sit down and you read through the Harry Potter series again, you don't keep these in mind. But with the math text, especially when we get to the more difficult stuff, you're going to want to slow down. Follow the steps. Okay? You're not just reading it to get through it and be done. You are reading it to obtain information. Information that you will need to do the problems, to pass the test, to pass the class, to get whatever, however far out you want to stretch that goal. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind. Here we go. Read carefully. Make sure each sentence makes sense. Okay? It's one of those things that it should be part of your everyday reading technique, but a lot of people, you get lazy, you get in a hurry, like, okay, yeah, I didn't quite get that, but I'll just go on to the next one. Maybe it'll make more sense. No. Go back, reread the sentence if you have to. Make sure each point makes sense as you go. And then ask yourself, maybe not every sentence, but Lewis, we've got some background noise from you. Turn off the radio, please. Lewis. Just have to mute him. Okay. So as you're going, ask yourself, not just does it make sense, but what does the author already assume I know? What concepts do I already know from prior years or the previous chapter or such that could apply here? Because especially, I'm trying to lay this out this year, but learning math is you're building up a pyramid. We're laying down a foundation, and then every new topic builds on top of the old. Right? And so when you're reading a math text, the author is going to come in and say, hey, you're on chapter 2. I'm writing chapter 2, assuming you got through and mastered everything in chapter 1. Right? Might be a little odd when we get to chapter 0 here. So this theoretically is written with no assumptions. We can't really assume you know anything about geometry yet. This is chapter 0, the very beginning. But there's certainly vocabulary here. Right? I'm assuming you know crystals and honeycomb and snowflakes and spiral shell. I assume you know what all of those are. We're assuming, actually, hexagon, that's a geometry term, that you recognize that shape. That simple polygon identification should have been done from, 4th grade or something. So the author is assuming you recognize that. Oh yeah, that's a hexagon. That clicks, that makes sense, I see. Example of geometry in nature. Got it, thank you, author. Right? He's just drawing your attention to it. He's not teaching you the shape for the first time. You see the difference there? All right, number 3. I ask you to stop and summarize each sentence in your own words. Explain all the math concepts that you have learned before. This is a tedious one. Oh my gosh. You do not need to write all this down. Okay? If you were to summarize every single sentence in your own notes, well, you'd be basically writing, and you'd be copying the whole thing sentence for sentence. But your notes wouldn't get any shorter than the original text. So don't write all this down. This is things to think in your head. Right? Do I understand the sentence? What else did I need to go along with it? Okay, so check if I had to translate this into simple speak. Oh, he's just talking about, triangles are great. Got it. Important, right? How does it feel in your own language, your own internal thought process? Right? And then maybe you don't need to explain. At least ask yourself, can you explain all the math concepts that came before that? Right? Any of those that, hey, what did he assume I know? Can I effectively connect the two ideas together? Oh, he assumes I know what a hexagon is. All right, I recognize that. That's the one with 6 sides, right? Okay, it goes together and fits in the honeycomb. You can see visually there's the pattern, right? It's a mental check. Now, I am going to ask you, as part of this assignment for today, to summarize each section. All right? So within the textbook, this is 0.1 that we read already. You'll go to 0.2, line designs. And there's 1, 2, and then there's the exercises. It's not even 2 pages. It's like 1, 2, 3 paragraphs and many pictures to look at, okay? So there's not a ton of text here. Lesson 3. Very visual sections. All right, step 4. Reread parts you are not able to summarize. Okay? Again, this is another mental check. Okay, I couldn't quite simplify that one. What was that saying again? This goes sentence by sentence. It depends on the text. Some texts are very dense. Which one was that? That was the what is geometry? How is it used in the real world? Remember that? article I had to read. That was a very dense text. I would say definitely sentence by sentence. Critical. Stop and think about each one. Other times, each sentence is only a small new piece of information. And really, it doesn't make sense to summarize when they just say, okay, now we added this. Next sentence, we added this. Doesn't get any shorter than that. So in which case, you may be thinking paragraph, right? Paragraph by paragraph. Do I understand everything that's going on? What did the author need me to know beforehand? Can I explain the concepts? Can I summarize it? That's your job. When possible. Granted, you don't get to do this a lot this year, but discuss it with a partner as you go. Explain to them what you understand. If you have a sibling at home, right? Bring them over and be like, hey, I just read about this cool thing, right? This geometry line art, you're gonna love it. You explain it to them, right? Because the best way to know if you know something is, can you explain it to others? That's a good sign of a true mastery of a topic. Your ability to teach it. And then if you stumble, you're like, oh wait, I can't explain that. That is an excellent question. I'm glad you asked me that, 4-year-old sibling of mine. Right? Now you got to go back and you got to study. Oh, okay, where did it say that? Right? Why 2-year-olds make great study buddies. Right? Just try to explain something. Why? And if you can keep going, you know your stuff, right? Whenever they stop, you got to go back and sit. Okay. This is the big one. Number 6, read with a pencil. Here's where we're really going to get into the math part. Right? This is critical, especially in geometry. Read with a pencil. Work the examples. A lot of math books love to have examples. Right? Here's the new topic. Here is the new formula or equation. Here's an example of how it is used. Work through the example. Don't just read it yourself. Write it out in your notes. But that's some good reference stuff that you'll want to refer back to later. And help in writing it out, if you haven't heard this already, writing things down improves your memory of them. Okay? Typing it out is decent. It's better than just reading it. But actual handwritten notes are the best method so far. And then when it comes to geometry, very visual, right? Those sections we saw, lots of pictures, lots of diagrams. I don't expect you to draw windows and pottery and rugs in your notes. Right? Maybe. A quick sketch, like, oh yeah, Chinese pottery, and you make a note. Hey, here's a cool example of a thing. But there's definitely some patterns here that you could create in your notes. Right? There's going to be a lot of diagrams, a lot of sketches, a lot of drawing this year. And you're going to want them in your notes. Your notes are going to be very visual things. And we'll talk more about creating good notes the rest of the week. But that's part of the reading and understanding process. Okay? Oh, isn't that cool? Look at this pretty stuff. Amazing. All right, and then finally, explanations for any new mathematic terms. Definitely highlight those in your notes, or even on note cards. Or make vocabulary flashcards. That's up to you. I'm going to insist you at least put them on notes. If you're the type of person that struggles with terms and vocabulary, then absolutely make flashcards just like you would for learning a new language, right? Because math is kind of its own language. Back to the text. Anybody spots a important vocabulary term on this page? Something that might be worth, definitely add that. Hey, highlight. Hey, look at me in the notes. Do you see one? What might it be? Genesis, nothing stands out to you in that paragraph? Yeah, what's so special about the words regular hexagon on that page? It's bold, and it's blue, right? Okay, so that's how our textbook is going to call out new important vocabulary, bold and blue. Well, this textbook anyway. Right? Very common feature in a math book. Common for several types of books, right? Ours is going to be bold and blue. So whenever you see a bold and blue word, like, oh, make sure I add that to my notes, give a definition, give a sketch where applicable. It's going to be very applicable most of the time in geometry to provide a sketch along with your vocabulary term. Okay? Now, one thing it does not do is it doesn't pull the term to the side. I've seen some books where they'll have a little box on the side like, here's the vocabulary and its explicit definition. You're going to have to read the text to determine what they mean. Is a regular hexagon, comma, a six-sided figure whose sides are the same length and whose angles are all the same size. That sounds pretty definitionally, right? This is a pretty common way of setting up a definition within a sentence, separated with a comma. So everything after that is the definition of the word, right? They didn't put it all in a nice neat little box for you, but they did make it bold and blue. That's what you're looking for. All right. So then, for the rest of today, I want you to finish reading the rest of chapter 0. Let me zoom in. Right. There are 6 sections in chapter 0. You've already read 1, so you can just read 2 through 6. Okay, that's 5 sections. They're seen, previewed. They're like maybe 2 pages of text tops. Read them all. Any of those side boxes, those call-outs, like, oh, hey, you can also look up this thing here. At least read that. Make mental note of it. Oh, yeah, and if it sounds interesting, go for it. Look it up. Question 2 from the reading bookmark is the reading keys bookmark. That was this guy. What is the author? Already assume I know. So for each section, right, this is written sentence by sentence. I want you to go section by section of the text. What is the author? Assume you know. What concepts are mentioned that you did learn before? For question 2, A and B per section. And then number 3, short summary of each section. Just 1 or 2 sentences is sufficient. If you need 3 sentences, go for it, right? But 1 to 2 sentences will be okay. And then finally, 1 question about something that you don't understand, if applicable. If you feel comfortable, you understand everything in the section. Give me something that you wonder about. Okay? Anything at all. Like, I wonder if this could be used here. Or, oh, what about that thing that I saw on TV last week? Right? Does that relate? Something like that. Or maybe it's not even that specific. I would like to know more about this. I'm wondering about these snowflakes, right? I think there was a stuff like that, right? That looks like a snowflake. Something there. Oh, this doesn't get much into the why. Why they stay sided? Maybe that's what you wonder about. Like, okay, well, why does nature do that? That seems somewhat arbitrary. What's the deal? That can be your wonderment for that section. Okay. Then, step 5, since your notes here comprise of a summary and vocab, go ahead and add a sketch to go with any of that. Sketch or two, if you have to do a couple diagrams, some of them introduce 2 or more features. Whatever looks perfect. Okay. Again, this is probably easiest to write out by hand and then take pictures and upload to Google Classroom, especially given the nature of the drawing. Tomorrow we will be talking about some programs you can use online that will help you create more digital notes if you so desire. Now, any questions on the process? All right, I'll leave you to it. There is no additional homework items this week. Since I know a lot of this will take a significant portion of time. I'm cheating, I'm double dipping here. This is both like classwork and you get creating notes that is usually homework stuff. So it's a 2-for-1 deal. So you have the rest of the period to work, and then whatever sections are left, do those at home. Or if you're already at home, you're doing all of them at home. Work on them for now, the next business period. 30? 25, okay, 25 minutes.